everybody, Tim Norris here, aka GreyElephant.
And Carmen Norris.
And today we are talking about
Star Realms.
This is brought to us by White Wizard Games. And, hey, how much fun could possibly be in such a little box?
You might be surprised. Forge your own Star Realm. Build up your military through shipping and trade. Then use your mighty fleet of warships to protect what's yours and take what isn't.
One thing to note before we get into setup is that this box contains enough cards for 2 players. Now, these things only cost $15 a pop. So if you want to be able to play with more players, you're going to need to get more decks.
Now we're going to show you standard setup and gameplay for a 2-player game. First, you're going to take these authority points. Notice they are 2-sided, and you're going to set them up to where you have 50 authority points to start the game.
Now each player is going to be dealt their starting hand of cards. Each player is going to receive 2 Viper ships, which work as fighters, and 8 Scout ships, which are used to help you gain cards from the trade row.
There's 10 Explorer cards, and these are going to be set to the side of the trade row.
Speaking of the trade row, we have 4 separate factions that are going to be available within the trade row. We have the Blobs, we have the Machine Cult, we have the Trade Federation, and the Star Empire. You're going to take all 4 of these factions, create a single deck, mixing this deck together, taking the top 5 cards, forming the trade row for the start of the game.
Okay, we're all set up and ready to play. You might be wondering, well, what should you use your trade points for? There are 4 different factions, so you might want to decide which strengths and abilities you want to take advantage of. And you might want to keep in mind that if you have 2 or more of the same color in your hand, they're going to stack and give you ally abilities, which will make you even stronger. Now I've shuffled my starting cards into a deck, and I'm ready for my first turn. Now keep in mind, the first player is only going to draw 3 cards for the first turn, but after that we're both going to draw 5. So I have my 5 cards, and as you can see I have 4 trade and 1 combat. Now I'm going to spend the 1 combat to remove 1 authority from my opponent. Then I'm going to spend my 4 trade on the trade row. As you can see, this card costs 4, so I could purchase this card, or I could purchase this card, and we'll see what else I can get. Flip over the new card immediately, and I think I'm going to want this one as well. So I'm going to keep flipping over cards. Unfortunately, there is nothing for the remaining 1 trade that I have in my hand, so my turn is over, and everything is going to go in my discard pile. I would have to say my favorite faction is the Blob faction, and really the main reason for this is just the theme, the flavor to them. They remind me of the Yuuzhan Vong of the Star Wars universe, you know. They're attack, 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 and they're organic life forms as their ships, and it's just really cool to look at the artwork and enjoy that part of the theme. Now what they do is also pretty cool. They build up fairly easily because there's a lot of inexpensive starter cards. They allow you to draw cards and, you know, just pound your opponent. And the other thing that you can do with them is destroy cards in the trade row and keep your opponents from buying them.
So Carmen demonstrated the 2 main actions you're going to be taking throughout the game, trade and combat. And she was able to remove 1 authority point from me. Now each of us start with 50 of these authority points, and when 1 player runs out of any authority, well, they lose and the other player wins. Alright, so let's talk about the Machine Cult. The Machine Cult is actually my favorite faction, and the reason is because they've got some pretty good, decent firepower to attack your opponent with, but that's not really why I like them the best. I like them because they have the ability to scrap. They're the only faction that allow you to scrap or destroy cards out of your hand. That's the way that you get rid of your starting cards so that you don't have them clogging up your deck as you're purchasing cards from the trade row and you create this huge stack of cards but you're never getting your combos. The Machine Cult allows you to do this. The Machine Cult is definitely the best faction in my book in this game.
Well, we've covered combat and trade, and now there's another symbol on our cards we need to cover, which is authority. That's this little green shield symbol right here, and this is going to let me gain 4 authority. And in order to do that, I'm just going to take one of my cards And flip it over, I've gone from 1 to 5, so I've gained 4.
Okay, so we've covered trading, combat, and gaining authority. So what we need to cover now are standard actions and also allied actions. So let's take a look at this example I've set up here in front of me. Let's say if I had these two cards in my hand. Up here is a standard action. So this survey ship would allow me to have 1 trade point, and it's also going to allow me to draw a card. This one here gives me 5 combat, plus I get to draw a card, but uh-oh, what's this little symbol? Well, that's an allied action ability. An allied action is only activated when you are able to match the symbol located there. So, as long as we had both these cards played in the same turn, this ability here would be unlocked, which says target opponent discards a card. Now we've got another action though that we can take a look at, and it's located at the bottom of both of these cards. This looks like a trash can. What this is called is a scrap ability. And if you wanted to, you could completely destroy this card and remove it out of the game and take advantage of whatever is stated in the next to the card. For instance, this one here, scrap the card, so you would get 1 authority, draw a card, and then if you wanted to, scrap it to target opponent discards a card. Then you would take the survey ship and remove it out of the game.
Now you might be familiar with this ability in other deck builders that, you match the symbols and you get to trigger an effect. But in other deck builders, I've noticed a lot of times you play the first card and then the effect triggers with the second card. Well, in this case, if both cards have the symbol on them, you get to trigger the effect on both of the cards, no matter what order they're played in.
Now the 10 Explorer ships will always sit to the side of the game board. And what they are, they're kind of like the community ship that are just available to everybody at all times. And you always know what you're getting from that ship. You're always going to be able to use it to gain 2 trade points to be able to buy from or purchase from the trade row. And if you want, can use it for a combat for 2 if you choose to scrap it. Now, unlike the other cards when you scrap them and they're removed from the game, Explorer cards go right back into the stack so that there's always 10 Explorer cards available throughout the entire game.
My second favorite faction would be the Blue faction or the Trade Federation. And the reason I like these is that you can gain authority with those. So they really keep you strong at the beginning of the game when your opponent doesn't really have a lot of combos yet. They take your authority away, you gain it right back. In addition, you can gain more authority than what you start with, so you can get really strong at the beginning of the game. They also allow you to purchase, which is another great thing for the beginning of the game. They don't have a lot of firepower. That's okay. That's what my blobs are for.
Okay, now we've got 2 different types of bases in the game. We have normal bases and then we have outposts. Normal bases are signified by this shield with this number in it, while outposts will have like this black background with the number inside of it. And they do work differently. Whenever you purchase these cards, they go into your discard, but then when you draw them up, you're going to place these in front of you and they stay in front of you until your opponent destroys them. However, a base can be avoided by your opponent when they attack you and try to remove authority. It's like their ships can fly right around it. No big deal. However, an outpost, your opponent must first get through the defense of the outpost, destroying that, then they're allowed to attack the authority that you still have left remaining. My second favorite faction, and it's actually a very close first favorite, is the yellow faction, the Star Empire. And the reason that I like this faction is because, well, all factions allow you to draw cards, okay, for the most part. But what this faction specializes in is that they force your opponent to discard cards. I've actually had turns where I have forced my opponent to discard every single one of their cards out of their hand. That is amazingly powerful, especially when you're going against the blobs, which work off combos and then allied abilities where they are just destroying you and pounding you hard with their attack. All right, on to their concluding thoughts. All right, we got a lot of things to cover here in our thoughts. First off, do we like the game? Yeah! This is a great game. This is a fantastic game. In the realm of deck builders, this is a very unique game. It's got high replayability. The artwork is absolutely gorgeous. It's easily portable. It comes in that little box. And it's one of those ones that, even though you might want to get more than just one box, it's not necessary because your friends are probably going to want it because as soon as you show it to them, they're probably going to run out and buy themselves a set.
I gotta say, we play this a lot, and the reason is because it is so easy to set up and so easy to break down. Even simple deck builders like Lord of the Rings require that you count up your points. And this doesn't even require that at the end of the game. You immediately know who won.
Yeah, and you made a comparison to the Lord of the Ring deck builder from Cryptozoic, and then you also have the DC deck builder game. Very similar to the simplicity of the setup and the breakdown. And then if you want to go to a harder one, you got your Thunderstones and your Legendary. Now, let's talk about that for a second, because it's easy to sit here and just throw out the best deck builder, because Star Realms is certainly in that conversation. But you have to take this into consideration that it's not really a fair assessment, given that Legendary and both Thunderstone both are more of a story, somewhat driven game. You know, they require more because they are just more to
They're
it.
more complicated.
Yes,
I mean, I'm not going to say this is better, but it's simpler. So, you know, we kind of play it more often. But we certainly love those games.
And then we've got Imminent Domain, which is another space-type deck builder as well. And we own all these we're talking about. And I'd have to say that this has not really replaced any game, but if it had, it would have been the Lord of the Rings deck builder, just because of the simplicity, and it's so similar to it.
It's the simple one that we, you know, play really often because it's just a relaxing, quick game.
Yeah. All right, so a few things we want to talk about as well is that, now when we both brought out the colors that are our first and favorite factions, that wasn't a fluke. I mean, that is our first and favorite factions. That's who we usually go towards. But this game is driven to whatever sometimes it's just whatever's available in the trade row.
Right. You start out with cards that you were able to purchase, and you just kind of have to build off of that.
From there. Yeah. But I always still tend to lean towards the red no matter what, and she always tends to lean towards the green no matter what. And it's just, I don't know why we do that. I love scrapping. She likes to just try to pound me to death. But
no, we didn't really at first play with the yellow a whole lot. But he's been playing with the yellow lately, and whoa!
I actually did have an entire one turn where I made her discard every single one of her cards out of her hand. She missed an entire turn because the yellow can do that. I mean, they're just that powerful.
And then on my other turns, you know, I was missing 1, 2, 3 cards, and it was just killing me.
You know, and then that kind of gets into, we want to talk about bases. Now, remember, you got your normal bases, which have the silver background shield with a number, and then you have your outposts, which are the black shield with a number in them.
But they're both bases.
Right, and the shield with the number, that's their defense. Now, the one thing about bases, you can fly around them, which means that they're easily ignorable, where outposts, you must directly, you know, contend with those to be able to get to the authority of your opponents. Bases are easily overlooked. They are, the normal ones.
And you can put them down in front of you, and they have an ability. They have the allied ability
triggering, yes.
And they trigger the allied ability of your cards. So that is just huge.
But it's one of those things that's easy to overlook, though.
Yes.
And that's the thing, because we've played games where, you know, going for outposts, yeah, that's huge, man. You want to have that defensive guard in front of you, you know. You got to go through that before you get to me. Those bases are deceiving, though. Because we've played games before in the past.
Think, I want to get your authority points, so I'll just leave that out. Yeah.
So you're constantly just avoiding the base, whatever. But I've had games in the past where I've played with her, and she loves her greens, and she had those blob wheels, and she had, you know, 2 or 3 of the blob wheels, I can't remember, but at least 2 of the blob wheels, and another one of the blob bases out there on the board. At that stage, she just had so much comboing going on. I mean, it just destroyed me.
Right. I mean, he could take out one base. Hey, I got another one. I can still combo with it. Now the outposts, though, I was going to say, the outposts, they just really make you strong. Because if you have a bunch of them out there, you know, they might not, your opponent might not ever get to your authority points.
Yeah. Now, one last thing we want to talk about is that, now, keep in mind, this is $15, okay? Some of the best $15 you're ever going to spend if you're into deck building and board games, okay? Absolutely brilliant game. But keep in mind, this is only for 2 players, okay? However, if your friends have a deck, or if you decide to go out and buy more of these decks yourself, there is a whole other world opened up of multiplayer.
Yes, there are a lot of different variations that you can play then, and I'm really excited about that.
Now I haven't played the multiplayer yet, whereas you have. You want to speak of that real quick?
Well, I watched a game which was free for all, and I noticed there was a bit of, you know, a bit of politics going on, you know. Hey, we're going to gang up. We're going to attack them. So I thought, well, let's try the hunter version because I don't really like the, you know, politics of gaming. So we tried the hunter version. And in that one, you're only allowed to attack the player to your left. You cannot attack across from you or to your right. You can attack bases, but not their authority points.
Okay.
So that kind of evens out the, you know, the squabbling and the...
That's kind of nice because then you're more directed.
Right.
Now, the one way that I'm most excited to try to play this is the Emperor, and I'm going to show you a picture of how this works real quick. Now, you've got the blue at the top and the red at the bottom, and if you notice, there's admirals on each side of the Emperor that's in the center. And the way this works is that the admirals are only allowed to attack each other directly opposite of them. So the one admiral from the red can only attack the blue admiral that is directly opposite of him. However, the Emperor on each side is allowed to attack either one of the admirals of their opponents. Until you defeat your admiral in front of you, you're not allowed to attack your opponent's Emperor, which then once you defeat the Emperor, you win the game.
There's another variant that you can play called Raiders vs. the Boss. And that sounds really fun. Actually, I taught a friend how to play this game today, and we thought we might gang up against him and beat him up.
Why is it always me? I don't know why I get on everybody's bad side about that.
So you can have 2 to 5 players against the boss, and so that sounds really
fun. And the boss is like uber powerful, and that does look like a lot of fun. I think.
Yeah, the boss actually gets more cards and more authority depending on how many people are trying to go after the boss.
My authority. All right, so let's wrap it up a little bit. First off, let's just say this game is superb. I think it's a brilliant game. I think you're looking at a game that has high replayability. It has beautiful artwork, second to none. You've got a game that has a simple setup, a simple breakdown, and yet it does have a unique combat system that is unlike any other deck building game currently on the market.
Yeah, I gotta say, this is a great value for the price. To have a card game that we enjoy this much is just really great, and I love the theme, I've gotta say.
I agree with you 100%. I think the theme and the artwork and everything just goes so well with the theme that just overall, I mean, this is just, wow, I mean, it's just so easy to say it's the best deck builder. I'm not going to go that far and say, oh, it's the best deck builder out there. But man, wow, it could easily contend.
And I think it fits a lot of niches because, you know, I introduced someone to deck building with this game, and we are seasoned players and we enjoy the game.
Yeah. So overall, run out, buy it, buy them all, buy every single deck you see. The game is sold out right now as we're producing this video, and it's a shame because I really want more people to play this game. Because I think the more people that play it, the more people are going to enjoy it. So, a fantastic production. We highly recommend you check this one out. Anything else to follow up?
I think we've said it all.
Awesome. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye.